Welcome back, everyone, to Anonymous Addiction Deprogramming Podcast 2024. This is the first podcast of this year. I'm going to title it Words Cast Spells Upon Us. Yes, they do. Words. Words have power. Words are things, energy, frequency. There's people out there that say that alcohol doesn't have power. And I refute that. I definitely know that alcohol is an energy, it's a vibration, it's one of the lowest vibrations there are, and it definitely has power, uh, even though we are more powerful as human beings. But let's talk about some words that cast spells upon us. Uh, Everyone talks about the word alcoholic. I had that cast spell upon me from the very beginning. It'll be 40 years ago. My wife's grandfather, he had a habitual alcohol problem, and they called him an alcoholic. I had a friend, this is 50 years ago, over 50, 60, 70 years ago, 60 years ago. A friend, his father was an Alcoholics Anonymous, and we heard stories about him getting sober, staying sober, and helping other people. There's always somebody around. This, I'm talking 40 years ago. There was, even today, it's way worse. Before, I didn't even know what a rehab was, so I didn't have any therapists. I didn't go to therapy, didn't go to a doctor, didn't go to a rehab. I knew alcoholism was a word that society labeled people that had an habitual problem with alcohol. So naturally, my wife, when I drank, or my mother-in-law, or my mom, she had habitual. My uncles had a problem with alcohol. They used to drink a lot, and of course, they were labeled alcoholics. So society, you know, because of the programming of the indoctrination way back in 1934, 35, 39, really it started. Marty Mann promoting the alcoholism concept, which alcoholism isn't just means a movement, it's an artistic movement. So there's no such thing, really, there's no such thing as alcoholism. It's an ism, it's a movement. Alcoholic is just describing the noun alcohol. They're made up words, made up names. Cast spells upon us throughout the years. And they got worse. They just kept on getting worse because when Rockefeller took over, he didn't hijack. Rockefeller did not hijack Alcoholics Anonymous. He he took it and controlled it from the beginning in 1939. Bill and Bob were still going to the Oxford group. They were still going to Oxford meetings. They didn't even have a name, didn't even have a book. Hank and Bill got together. They wanted to sell some stocks. If they would have did that, it would have been all over anyhow, because Bill was not a really great businessman. I got a little cold, still suffering a cold a week ago. My wife had it for 2 weeks. I think it's allergies, actually, but it's still with me. But AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, didn't even have a name. There wasn't even a name of Alcoholics Anonymous. There wasn't even a book until Rockefeller got his hands on it. Designed it, controlled it, manipulated it, used Bill and Bob as puppets. we'll get into that. We're going to start a series back on that with a friend of mine. But getting back to words, addict, dope addict, alcoholic. Even these words today that I don't use, like abstinence. I'm abstinence. No, I'm not abstinent. I don't even, it's not even a thing. I don't even think about it. So it's not even a thing of abstinence. Moderation. I don't even like the word. The word moderation is control also. Abstinence is you're controlling. Moderation, you're in control. Even if you look at the Sinclair method, it's a control mechanism. Who's in control? You are trying to control. The medication that you take, the time that you take it, when you take it, how you take it. So it's all control. Moderation is control. My wife, the word moderation, my wife or other people I know, they're not abstinence or they don't use moderation. They just have a drink when they feel like it. It's not like, oh, should I moderate? No. They're words. Words cast spells upon us. Moderation really means restraint, self-restraint. It's a voluntary restraint. We we reprogram, we reprogram, rewire neuroplasticity, the brain. We do it through repetition, the same repetition that we do if we're doing any habitual habit. We retrain our brain through time, this is a process, and it becomes a no thing if you want it to be. Now, there's people that they moderate their drinking, their drug use. They do. They control it. They watch it. They control it, which is a good thing. It's a form of harm reduction. The temperance movement, way back, 1800s, the temperance movement was a moderation movement. They actually believed in more limiting the use. Then a lot of the movements turned into more prohibition. When prohibition hit, turned into more abstinence. But these words we use, moderation. I'm a moderate drinker. I'm abstinent. Celebrating time. The addiction recovery trap industry. It's a cycle. This gets us. It's all society. It's built. It's manufactured. It's designed that way. There's a lot of different legs. A lot of different. You have the media. You have the government, politicians. You have Hollywood. You have religion. Of course, you have Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12-step programming. You have rehabs, constant rehabs all over the place. Rehabs, rehabilitation. I've been into many of them and did a lot of work. Matter of fact, recently, I thought I was going to make a change maybe, but I really did some internal investigation. I got my certificate, got in and ran some groups. And the rehab groups were just like the AA meetings. They were ran internally by the ones that were working the steps from the outside meetings. They came in and they kind of, the minority controlled the majority of the groups. And it surrounded itself with 12-step sponsorship meetings, books, 12-step big book meetings, doing the big book, doing the 12 and 12. Words cast spells upon us. Certain different words. This is a new year. I'm going to, there's no need for anonymous. I have anonymous addiction, deprogramming podcast. I'm going to change that anonymous eventually on all my sites. Anonymous no more, because I do it for other people, and I have confidentiality. If somebody wants anonymity, I surely will respect that. But for us in this new realm of the new models and methods, we don't need to be anonymous because we're not hiding. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I don't drink alcohol, or even if I did, I moderate and I drink once in a while. Okay. Um, so why should I be ashamed of that? Why do I need to be anonymous? Alcoholics Anonymous made that up. The anonymous groups made that up to keep you inside their group. It's like if you go into an AA meeting, do you actually think that a police officer couldn't be in there, or somebody's parents, or an investigator, or a parole officer, or anyone else couldn't be in there at a meeting? They don't have any uh, ways to. What you got to do is say, I'm an alcoholic. You don't even have to say that. You just have to sit in a meeting and say, this is my first meeting. And they'll love bomb you. And you know, you could be spying on somebody, but there's no anonymous. You could sit outside of Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and see who goes in and who goes in. There's no need to be ashamed of having an habitual problem and getting some help. The shame and the stigma is me calling myself an alcoholic. That's where the shame is. You go tell your doctors you're an alcoholic. You won't be able to give a kidney transplant or get a liver transplant because you're labeled alcoholic for the rest of your life. You check that box, be careful, ladies and gentlemen, when you check that box. It's infiltrated every social worker, lawyer, doctor, judge. I don't care where you go. They'll send you to Alcoholics Anonymous. There's somebody everywhere just waiting, just like Scientology, just like the other cult mentalities, just waiting there to hear some family member, some friend, some person that has a problem with drugs or alcohol. They're there waiting in the wings. They'll come up to you. They know how to do it. We know how to do it. I did it. I knew how to do it. Sit back. They sit back. And where do you direct them to? You give them a couple pamphlets, Alcoholics Anonymous pamphlets, NA pamphlets, GA, I don't care what 12-step pamphlet you give out, where all the pamphlets are all purchased by the members, paid for, and Grapevine is making millions and millions of dollars, by you handing out the pamphlets. They're all in every church, school system, courts. We go to prisons, Alcoholics Anonymous, 12-step programs go into all the prisons, just like the religion churches do. Alcoholics Anonymous is a religion. There's no question about that. There's no question about Alcoholics Anonymous is a religion. Sinclair method. Now, I'm not knocking it. Look, if you believe in the Sinclair method, Dr. Sinclair kind of did the research, but it's a pharmaceutical drug started by DuPont, I think it was. Just check out some of the side effects. If you're using it, that's good. If you're trying to do some harm reduction, but you have to time it. It's got to be timed. It's got to be controlled. It's got to be you. You eventually are doing it, no matter what. Okay. Medicine may cause some serious problems with your liver. Now, here are some of the side effects of naltrexone: libido disorder, muscle cramps, sneezing, sweating, vomiting, chills, confusion. It's just some of the side effects. I'm just saying you're not going to get, of course, rash, nervousness, blurred vision, chest pain, feeling sad or empty, dizziness, headaches. Remember the Sinclair method is a big, big movement, and it's the it's the cure for alcoholism. First of all, alcoholism is not even a thing. It's just a movement, just like the Sinclair method is a movement. Decreased appetite, dizziness, abdomen pain, diarrhea, irritable, anxiety, just to name some of the few. Look, it costs money. I know you probably have a prescription, but you're going to go to your doctor and say you have this disease of alcoholism or you have an alcohol problem, and they're going to document it. And for $39.95, whatever it takes to get a daily pill to drink less or quit. It's all advertised all over the place. If you're here, you're ready to take control over alcohol with safe, effective treatment prescribed by doctors. Pharmaceutical industry. Now, I'm not against. I mean, I'm for freedom of choice, but I'm also for freedom of information. Do your own hate. Please don't believe what Bobby C says here. Do your own research. Check it out. Criticize me. I don't care. People say, hey, Bobby, go get a hobby, get a job. This is my hobby. I don't need a job. I'm looking for a job. If you have a job, let me know. People criticize me. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't go when people criticize me, I don't go back and type all kinds of trying to defend myself. I don't have to defend myself. There's such a thing as objective truth. There's knowing, there's believing what you believe, and there's knowing. Believing is definitely works because whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. That's why you achieve what you want with any method you encounter, any method you try. It works because you want it to work and you believe it. You're the Buddha. You're Jesus. You're the maker, creator. You created. It's you. I found one thing in common with everything, and that's you. That's me. One thing in common, people say there's so many paths. Yeah, there's so many paths, but there's always one thing in common, and that's you in this brain of ours, in this mind. Yeah. Pharmacological effects, pharmacological. If you're using a model that says that alcohol has no power, drink a pint of whiskey straight down and see if it doesn't have any power. And then the model will say that, well, that's you. That's because you still believe like a addict, or you still believe in the disease concept. It's the same as Alcoholics Anonymous because it puts it back on you. If you don't believe our method, you believe that alcohol has power. Pharmacologically, anybody can do any research. I'm a researcher. So are you. Just become your own researcher. Anybody can say I've been researching for 40 years. Behavioral science, behavioral health, mindful. And I've been on so many I've done so many different things, got a lot of certificates, a lot of different types of degrees and certificates in various modalities. I still check out other people. But one thing I found out, if we believe it, it's true. But there is objective truth. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe. I believe recovery, this word recovery is another thing. Recovery. What does that even mean, recovery? I was deprogramming from Alcoholics Anonymous the day I walked in. I said yes to help 40 years ago. I said yes to help. And I found out that, Alcoholics Anonymous was my programming, the cult that I was in, helped me. It actually helped me. It helped me to where I am today. It actually helped me because I found out truth. Because if you're an Alcoholics Anonymous, if you're going to go in, if the treatment center is going to send you in there, if some interventionist, they're 12-step interventionists, social workers, doctors, courts, or they're going to send you to Alcoholics Anonymous through some intervention, and you get the 12-step model, start deprogramming from the beginning. Question from when you go to rehab, don't buy all their BS. Think, question, observe, become aware of what's going on. Seek. You got a computer. We got these computers. We got these internet. We have massive knowledge. Seek and you shall find the truth, not their truth that they want to push down your throat, not their programming, indoctrination, lies, truth. Alcoholics Anonymous was the beginning. Coming into Alcoholics Anonymous was the beginning of my deprogramming, because from the beginning I started the deprogramming. I did things. I didn't go to a lot of meetings, and I stayed sober. I didn't do the steps for a year, and I stayed sober. I experimented, but the one thing I see, mostly all the stuff, not probably all the stuff in Alcoholics Anonymous has just been, Rockefeller just brought it all in. They designed it from outside and brought it all in from religions, from motivational speakers, from psychologists, psychiatrists, metaphysics. Yes, some spiritual, but religion, a lot of religion. It's all borrowed. They use it all. A lot of sayings, people, if you say them now, they'll say, oh, you're quoting Alcoholics Anonymous. But some of the things that were in there were used, and I used them to deprogramming, actually, some of them. I'm going to do a podcast on this, bleeding deacons versus elder statesmen. I chose not to be an elder statesman. I didn't sponsor too many people. I didn't really believe in a lot of stuff they believed, and that was okay. But they kept on trying to get me because I did have cognitive dissonance. I did have ambivalence back and forth. I did question myself. But the more I searched out, the more validation I got. And in the beginning, all through my years, over 30 years in Alcoholics Anonymous, I tried to help people deprogram, of no avail. But I did help a lot of people. They would come up to me after meetings. Bobby, thanks. You had a lot of courage saying that shit, even if a lot of the old timers or somebody, the big book thumpers didn't believe what you were saying. I would get looks at, and they would talk, during a meeting, you hear some of the old timers, but I became an old timer, but I never wanted to be a elder statesman that sat in the back and repeated this garbage over and over and over repetitively to the new person that came in. And then when the new person would look over to the elder statesman, they would look over and they would shake their head yes or no or whatever they said. That's why a lot of people didn't approach me. Hey, Bobby, can you be my sponsor? Because they know I wasn't a big book thumper. I did all the steps. I did everything there was to do, and I didn't do it. I wasn't a big book thumper. I went to step meetings. I went to big book meetings. I did not like clubs. I did not go to clubs. A lot of the infiltration is at clubs because the most vulnerable human beings, the most vulnerable become victims in the beginning. They become victims of the cult mentality. like I did. I was a victim too. I became a cult, cult member. I'm not sitting here and saying I wasn't. I was going. Did I believe a lot of shit? No. But no one. One time near the end, I heard somebody mention a smart recovery meeting. One time. But you know what? That one time I heard it. But then I started, even towards the end, I started to really even search even deeper and more. And I started to de-occult. I say I'm a de-occultist today. I started to deprogram, de-occult myself, the hidden knowledge of truth, and discover what I what I found out to be true today. They wanted me to give my will and my life over to their care. Well, our will, this action, the will is the action, the will, the care, what we care about the most, the attention that we give becomes reality. So whatever we give our attention to the most becomes reality. I don't care if it's giving your attention to your children, your grandchildren, a job, this podcast right now. I'm giving my attention, I'm giving my will and my care over. But I'm maintaining it, I'm keeping it. They got to figure it out. They use the God thing and all the other programs. I don't care who it is, the freedom model, they have it figured out. If you don't believe in what they say, then you believe in the disease concept. You know, question, think, question, observe, and become aware. I don't care what program it is, and I'm not knocking them. They're making money. It's a money making. Look, recovery. All I'm telling you is this stuff's free. It's free. Alcoholics Anonymous was just the beginning of my deprogramming. It it wasn't. It's not an end. It's a deprogram. It's the beginning of my de-occulting. It's the beginning. It was the beginning of my emergence from the veil of lies, from the triangle pyramid. That's just one layer. Then I had to go out. And as I went out and checked out all the arms, all the mechanisms that Rockefeller helped create and was part of. I use Rockefeller because, today we could use other people, but Rockefeller medicine, he took over the medicine industry, and that's not denying it. Demolished the holistic capitalization of, capitalizing on money profits. He took over the cancer research. He took over all the addiction recovery. It's all designed. I had to find out about religion, how religion. Yeah, there's truth to some of the books. I mean, in the books, there's truth. There's truth in all these type of so-called religions if you take pieces of them. Yeah. But religion is a control mechanism. The government is a control mechanism. Hollywood is a control mechanism. Media. They're all arms of it all. So I'm not here to just say that I'm deprogramming from Alcoholics Anonymous. That's a start of the deprogramming process of our brainwashing since birth. So we keep on moving, enjoying. People say that their first awakening was, through maybe a mushroom experience or LSD or whatever type of hallucinogenic or whatever type of means. Mine was just through spirit, just through, yes, the help and a desire. See, they knew everything, all the successful people that preach success, motivational speakers know that a desire, the definition is wanting. I want this. Definition of desire is just a wanting, it's a craving of something better. It's like a purpose, a wanting a purpose to something greater, than ourselves, we are the same. Greater than ourselves, we are the greater. We are the whole thing. We're the one. Greater than ourselves. They talk about a power greater than ourselves. I'm part of it, or am I the whole thing? Because I am the God of this universal body. This body is a universe, and I'm the God of that. So today we're going to do a podcast with a friend of mine. He's going to be coming on, Tattoo Buddha, Gary Sanders. People in Alcoholics Anonymous, they taught me, they said, don't judge, don't have an opinion. What a crock of bull. Don't judge, don't have an opinion. Opinion, a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. The belief or views of a large number of majority of people about a particular thing, a view of judgment or appraisal. Don't have it. I'm going to have opinions as Bobby C sees it. This is as Bobby C sees it. You make it as you see it, as Gene sees it, as Jane sees it, as Bobby sees it, as Jimmy sees it, as Sam sees it, as it's as you see it. There's objective truth. There is definitely. Check out natural law. Check out the science and study of natural law. Look it up. It's objective truth. Everybody says everything's subjective. There's only subjective truth of my reality. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Just remember that this is as Bobby C sees it, Deprogramming Podcast, deprogramming from everything. Anonymous no more. There's no need to be anonymous. Yes, if you're calling yourself alcoholic, then you probably should be anonymous, because as soon as you say the word to somebody, they're going to judge it. I don't care what. If you think there's no stigma to those words, like I said, words cast spells upon us. Words cast spells upon us. Eliminate the words, the labels, alcoholic, alcoholism, diseased. You're not diseased. You don't have some disease. You may have a problem that you want to change. Hey, it's 2024. It's just to start. Initiate the change. Start the change with your will. Give your will and your life and attention and action towards that change, and you'll accomplish it. There's no question about it. Come join us on Facebook at Anonymous Addiction, My Truth About AA, as Bobby C sees it, Deprogramming Podcast. It's a private group on Facebook. Come join us. Give some comments. Please subscribe. Pass it on to anyone else. It's cold. It's going around. It's probably allergies. It's lasting a couple weeks. My wife had it for 2 weeks, but we're going to get through it. Take care, everybody. We'll check you on the next podcast. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.